Welcome back to the show, Be the Trader. Today I have a very special guest. He's a MIC moderator, owns his own side business in the barbershop world, and is a equities trader, day trader. His name is James Freedlender. James, welcome to the show, man.
What's going on, Alex? How are you? Thanks for having me.
It's going good, man. Going good. How's the month been of December for you?
It has been really well. It's been going really well. It's to be honest, this has been one of my better months in my trading career. A lot has changed coming into the month for me personally, like on the trading side, and I've kind of been able to really utilize like things I've learned in the past few months and really push it hard this month. So it's been going really well.
When you say that things have changed for you in trading wise, what do you mean by that?
So coming into the month of December, to be honest, things were already going well. I've been trading for almost 2 years full time, and things have been going well. But I kind of hit a point in my career where I knew it was time for me to take a step up. And I feel like as time goes on, like the longer you trade, when you're new, you see these big leaps every now and then. Those aha moments come more frequently to me, or they did for me. And now it's kind of like I'm just going along with my process and trading, and it felt like less and less like momentous leaps in my trading. So
Yeah.
I kind of came into November, December saying, you know what, something has to change, and I need to identify what it is. And for me, it really took identifying that my days would be way bigger and my trading would be a lot more or less stressful if I just waited for the stock to actually tell me it was time to go in heavy instead of trying to anticipate constantly. Everyone knows it's better to don't anticipate, wait for confirmation. But, everyone knows I think people are lying to themselves if they can just, wait every time. Everyone wants to get that first order in. They want to feel that, they're hitting the top or something like that. So I said, I need to cut that out and I need to wait for confirmation. And honestly, from day one of December, it has just changed my trading for the better. I just come to the market less stressed. I'm not concerned about hitting the top. I can size in respectfully and responsibly at the right moments, and it's just changed it, and it's been really, really paying dividends so far.
And so since you recognize that, you're mainly just waiting for that huge, like obviously that slap in the face moment where you're just like, you know what, now it's time to get in and size in, or like just to enter your position.
Yeah. So one of my biggest things that I've always tried to remember, Alex, 1809, like he always says, like with trading, like it's almost like you want to see money sitting there over on the floor. Someone just left like $20 on the floor and it's as easy as going to pick it up. Right. And that's kind of what your moments of entry should be, like almost like the market's telling you, like, why are you not getting in? So I live and die by a rule that was developed by him, or at least taught to him and by Dr. Brett Steenbarger, is that the 30-70 rule. So I use 30% of my size on either the front side of the move or if the stock is still above VWAP, and not really to me confirming to the backside yet. So I pretty much, once a stock tops out, it kind of gives me the inkling and the idea to throw out my first order, whether that's 15% of my size, 30% of my size, kind of depends on the stock price and the range. And then as the stock confirms, I will add size, usually when it's breaking under VWAP. That's like my favorite setup. And it just eliminates the FOMO of like, dude, you have to hit the top. It eliminates the concept of like, oh, the stock is, kind of rejecting 9. You have to get in now. Because what was happening before was, I'd see a stock, it would, kind of hit my level. And like I was looking to short, like let's say $8, and I would throw an order out, it would go to 820 or whatever. And it just was always like, I would stop out, and like I wanted to eliminate those paper cuts, like constantly taking paper cuts. And even so, like it was frustrating because I would take a paper cut just to nail it later. And I'm like, okay, so why not just eliminate the paper cuts if you can? The way I trade is like I like to scalp with size, and scalp not even meaning a couple cents. I mean 10, 20, 30 cents over and over again. So for me it works better that way, and it's just been a lot less stressful, like every day.
Yeah, nice. So like I'm just curious on the 30-70. Like I've been seeing that a lot going around, and I kind of trade similar to that in terms of 30. I wouldn't say 37, maybe like half and half is mainly what I do. But I've thought about the idea of if you're gonna enter your position, it's because you got a signal. It's because
Yep.
something happened. It's because you believe that XYZ happened, whatever that is for you as a trader, that says there's a high probability that you have a chance of being correct.
Yep.
So why not just enter your full position then? Because if you do that
Yep.
over time, you'll more than likely, because I'm sure there's times where if you don't and you get 30 and you can't get your full 70, then you don't get your full 3R return, 2R, whatever your R return is.
Yep.
And you still take a full 1R risk usually.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so therefore you can kind of skew your long-term longevity of results. And so when I see that, like I've been debating myself, like, man, maybe I should just, if I get my signal, I should just get in, because if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, period. Like I need to take my loss. But if I'm right, over time, I'm going to be
bigger
right.
ones. Yeah,
exactly.
Of course.
See what I'm saying? What do you think about that?
So I want to say, like, one of the guys I used to talk to every now and then was Brian Lee, who of course I know play with, and and I love how he trades. I love his concept, and I think it works really well. And he likes to use size. He says he uses 2 bullets a lot, and he will use size, hold for his R return, and it's impressive as hell. I love how he does it. But on the flip side, I'm a huge advocate of, like, with trading is, like, you just have to do what works for you. It is 100% like you are trading your own bankroll, you are trading your own setup, everything, right? So, I try to eliminate the outside influences of, oh, you need to make this R. And again, this is not a disrespect. I love the way that a lot of these guys trade. I think it's amazing, but you have to do what's comfortable in your gut and, like, what's kind of what's in your stomach. And that was my problem for a long time, was I was always trying to trade everyone else's system, until I realized, like, I have to trade my own process, my own system. And that was kind of my big aha moment. But, as far as the sizing question, I think you trade in a similar, like, niche as I do, right? Like small caps, like low floats. And the fact is, you do this long enough, man, you just see, like, of course, a stock's going to give you an entry signal. And of course, you want to be in full size. You want to capture the whole move full size. But I think for longevity purposes, you see how these things move. I mean, the fact is, like, a stock can give it a stuff move or a rejection, and it doesn't mean it's just going to tank right there, So for me, it just always was, I would try to hit tops with full size. And then what would happen was, stopping out on full size, you can do that, especially on a runner. You can do that 3, 4, 5, 6 times. Obviously you have a max daily loss, but how many times can you stop it on full size before it's almost impossible to make back your day, right? So I think the focus for traders should be, one, finding these stocks that have meat on the bone. Like I was just kind of ranting about this the other day. Like I hate when traders get FOMO when a stock, like, breaks pre-market high, and they're trying to nail the top, because if anything, when a stock breaks pre-market high, that just means to me, like, now there's more meat on the bone. Now there's, like, room for us to short and add to our winner, instead of panicking that we're not getting full size. If you're shorting in a 30 to 40 cent window, like, that's the only, like, the range the stock has, like, it's going to be hard for you, of course, to get on full size. But if the stock has, $1, $2 worth of downside, or even more, 70 cents, that to me is, like, perfect, because you can start in comfortably, small size, 30%, and still have room to go. Now, I think traders, like, misunderstand 30-70 a lot of the times, because for me, it strictly means, it doesn't mean I'm building to 100% position. For me, it means when the stock is above VWAP, I will use 30% of my size, and that's it. I can cover that. I can scalp with it. Like, a lot of times, I forget the chart. It was PT the other day, right? Yep. When the stock finally broke below VWAP, and that first retest, I didn't get full size. I probably got like 70% of size just for a scalp, right? And then it breaks above VWAP. So now I'm back to using 30%. So it's just a safety mechanism. It's more about, like, when the stock's above VWAP, and especially these runners in the market we're in right now, dude, you see these things go. And, like, we're at a time where I was talking about the other day, like, traders are not aware that the stock can just keep running. Like, we went through it. Market sentiment has clearly changed, where longs they're getting balls again. And
dude, it has. It has changed, though.
I'm sitting there watching it. It happened to me. I forget the ticker,
markets changed a lot.
Yeah, it has, and it happened to me. Last week I was trading with my buddy Tom, and we're on the phone, and I forget the ticker. We were, like, shorting a little bit pre-market, like 915, 920, and, like, we're like, oh, it's going up to, like, this level, like, we are fine, and then the thing just goes, and we're like, what the fuck? Like, what happened? Like, this is crazy. Like, we're just used to a time when, stocks were rejecting. So just now staying 30% above VWAP, unless I get a serious confirmation that I think I can go in a little bit heavier. But to me, it's just a safety thing. I believe in trading. If you want longevity, you need safety belts, max daily loss, Everyone has their own rules, et cetera, and stuff. So for me, that's just one of them. It just keeps my drawdown small, so I can take a couple paper cuts if I have to, and it's not a problem making that back.
That makes sense, man. That makes sense in terms of it's just mainly, it's not like you're changing. It's almost like you just change your R. If I'm above this level, above VWAP, for instance, because that's what you like to use. I love VWAP too. That means, maybe longs are more in control. So therefore, I'm going to trade. If I still see signs, I'm not going to be scared to get in. I'm just going to size in with 30% of my risk, which is nice. I like how you say that, because I like what you mentioned too at the very beginning of this is you got to trade what's comfortable for you. You hear these signs of 3R, 2R, 10R, you gotta hold till the end or whatever it is. And I think everyone goes through that. I go through it. You went through it. And I think everyone does. And I think what's unique is what you mentioned is you just got to do what you're comfortable with. And if you can do what you're comfortable with, then you can be successful with what is success for you, right?
100%.
That's what's important. Like, what's success for you is different from what's success to the other traders out there. Like, you can pick and choose what you learn from them, but you don't have to be them.
Yeah, 100%. I wish to God, I really do wish I could be someone even like Brian, or someone who can, short a top and hold.
Yeah,
I think it's amazing. There's some charts I see out there, and I'm just like, how do they sit through this all day? Because even me, I could be in a position. Even if, let's say I'm in a 2,000 shares and I cover most of it, and I only leave on a couple hundred. Even then, I'm still checking it throughout the day, and I don't want that. That's not the life. That's just for me. I used to think it was, but that's just not what it is for me. I would rather I like coming to the market. I get to my desk at 5 a.m. around there, but I like being done by 10:30, 11. I love that, and I love kind of de-stressing, and especially since I have outside things going on with work, and I like just being separate from the market at that point, and it allows me to come every single day and be refreshed. Again, for me, it's what was a big kind of clicking moment for me was I remember Alex Bally always preach about this, it's people always want to make 30 to 50 cents, right, on a trade or something like that. You get good size on, you make good money, but at the same time, it's easier to make 10 cents 5 times. Right? It's easier to make 10 cents 5 times and hold the stock for 50 cents, especially in the niche we're in, where it's so volatile. But that's just one way of looking at it. But for me, that made sense. So if I can get 5 scalps a day, 10 to 20 cents, dude, you just make $1, know, and it's that's kind of how I did it. A good example was PT the other day. I completely missed it because I was trading FSL, but I saw that, it provided a few opportunities. So I took 4 scalps on it. I small size because I wasn't focused. I used 1,000 shares, but 4 scalps made 48 cents, make almost $500. And that's why I think, people get in their head about they need to get big size, hold for this massive piece. And just, again, it doesn't work for me. I'm much more comfortable stopping out really fast or just taking my scalps and then sizing in on the emotional moves. And then I take a larger chunk when that kind of presents itself.
Yeah, no, I like how you mentioned, and just in terms of it's just perspective. That's what you're saying. It's just perspective. I mean, you could do scalping like me. I just not comfortable with scalping myself and 10 cents just because when I first became a trader, dude, I got burned so bad on going in full size, and then you just don't know what you're doing. That's basically what it was. And so you think you're risking 1, 2, 3 cents, but you're really risking 10, 20,
Yeah.
But I get it. I mean, I think what you're saying though makes sense. And I agree with you, but I think what's so important that you keep highlighting is you just got to do what works for you and be comfortable with that strategy. And if you could do that, for you like to be done by 10:30 because you want to go, you have your other hustles that you're doing. And let's talk about that just for a second, because you work full time or you own your own business, which is King's Corner Barbershop, right?
Yep.
And I saw the website, dude. It's a pretty badass website. I liked it. I was like, you know what? Because I go to this high-end place called the Boardroom here in Dallas.
Cool. Yeah.
And the Boardroom, have you heard of it?
Yeah.
So it's a nice concept. I love it. And then I looked at yours. I was like, I would be here. I'd be at this place. So
I appreciate it.
I like it. I like it a lot. And so to talk about that, I mean, first off, you're a young entrepreneur, which is awesome. And for those who haven't heard James's full background, I highly suggest you listen to one of the other episodes that he was interviewed on. Was it Beyond the PDT? Yep. So he has his full background on there. But just to highlight it real quick, man, you're a young entrepreneur, which is awesome, man. Congrats on that.
Thank you.
I wanted to know, just talk about a little bit about working full time, trading, because the concept that a lot of people get, and myself too, I used to have the same idea of like, I left a job to go full time, and I wasn't successful when I left. And so when I did that, I also realized that my niche is the first hour. So I'm done for like the whole day. And then you're like, holy shit, I can be doing something else. So I'm curious, like, just explain like your routine and how trading is adding to you rather than having to be the main thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course. So one, I attribute having like a side like hustle or having like an alternate stream or another stream of income to what allowed me to become like profitable quicker than a lot, and I think that's just because I wasn't stressed about, I didn't need to make a paycheck from trading. Like when I first like started, like, dude, I was happy with making, like, if I made $100 in a day, like I would take that and just be like, okay, cool. Like the fact that I can even do that's great. And obviously over time that changes and, it grows, but it was never a rush for me. I was never like, I need to make $10,000 today. Like, so having that alternate stream really, it contributed to me being comfortable learning trading and not rushing it. So that was huge. But, I mean, it just is nice knowing that you're not reliant on one thing. Some people think that's bad, I guess. Some people think like you should put your full boat into this and learn, trading. It's like the end all be all. But for me, it's like, I think what makes me, at least like what I think is a good trader, is that I have outlets. Like I have other outlets of like my brain has to be used in other ways and like exercise that way. Like I have other things to focus on. Like, at the end of the day, I can close the monitors. I can have a red day and know that I have something else I can go to and work on. Whereas like, sometimes people have a red day and it's like now all they can think about is this loss that they have at their job, So I just think having the business itself is just also showed me appreciation for trading more, because like I know how hard I've worked to like get the business going. Like, I mean, we're on year 7. We have 3 stores. I mean, every time we open a store, like we're working a full 80 hours. We're working as hard as we can every week to get it going, and always working with customers. And we have 20 plus employees now, or almost 27 or something like that. So it's like constantly it's a lot of work. So it gives me this appreciation of like when I'm at like my like battle station here, like I'm at this like where I am, it's like I love it. Like I'm just so in sync and like in love with like what I'm doing here. So it gives me that appreciation. It reminds me every day like how much I really just love trading and how, and it also, it keeps me grounded a lot of the times, I think, where, I can, if I have a day where, let's say I make a good amount of money trading, and like sometimes I'm like trying to push it and I need to make more and more and more. And I kind of think, well, how long would that take me to make at the shops? Like how many hours of work did that just take me? It took me an hour of trading today. Could have taken me a week at the shop or 2 weeks. Who knows? Depends how good of a day. So it keeps me grounded and keeps me kind of reminded that, every time, like to really grasp like the dollar value that you're making trading and how much less work it can be than your other jobs or how much harder other people have to work to make that same dollar, so I think that's kind of been my biggest benefit from it.
What do you feel like is something, because you obviously you started the barbershop first and then you discovered trading, so what do you feel like, what has helped you in that journey of creating your own business that is translating to trading?
I just had this conversation the other night at a bar, actually. Someone asked, like, you see any similarities like in it? Like, did it help you at all? And at first I kind of said no. I was kind of like, not really. Like, I don't think they matter. But the more I thought about it, was just process. Like, every time we open a store, we have this process we go through. And every day at the shop, like I teach the guys, a process of how to open, how to do things, like the way we like it. We're obviously growing, not necessarily to be a franchise, but we like having this similar style at every store. So, and that's kind of translated into my trading. Like I have the same process every day. I come in, I do it day in and day out. It doesn't matter if it's a good day or a bad day, I'm going to do the same thing, and it's like same thing when we opened the shop. We opened our first store in Hopkinton a couple months ago. And there's going to be slow days, and that's the nature of the beast. There's going to be slower days when you first open, but every day we're going to come to the store and do the same opening routine, closing routine. Even if no customers come in, it'll be the same exact thing. So that's what's translated into my life in general. It's just process, like over everything.
And I'm sure when you started, and you tell me, I mean, I don't know this, but like when you started your first shop, I'm sure there was like moments of like, oh crap, like I don't know if this is gonna work, right? Like so
Dude,
like
there are
that had to help you with what you're doing now.
when we first opened our first one, we bought an Xbox. We have a TV and stuff, and we bought an Xbox. And it was me and my business partner at the time, and we bought Borderlands. And we were like, there were days where we'd play for like 12 hours straight, and we're like, that was sick, such a fun day. And we're like, oh Jesus God, we didn't do anything today. No one came in. Like we're just sitting here alone. And and it's of course it's anxiety filled, and that same thing with trading, man. There were tons of days like that when you're first starting out, but yeah, for sure. Like there were days where I'm thinking like, what the hell did I do? But you got to push
through it, because if you would have stopped right there, that anxiety take over, then you wouldn't be having your third shop. You would, same thing with trading. Like you're gonna have those days where you might not trade at all, which actually is awesome, rather than losing money. But but in other words, you might have those losing streaks, because when you have a business and you don't have customers come in, that's losing days. That's negative income.
I think trading too is like, it's so important to recognize that it's a game of like daily evolution, like daily, every day, like adapting and change and like growing with the market and like the market sentiment. Whereas like, and like, sometimes pushing your limits a little bit. And like, that's the only way you can grow as a trader, right? Especially when traders are learning size, right? The only way to learn how to trade with bigger size is to trade with bigger size. So it's something like that. Whereas like same thing, when we had the one store, I was making a good living. And then it's like, well, we could open a second store, but how much more work would that be? Is it worth it? And then you do it. You realize you take the plunge and then it works. And you're like, same thing. You want to open a third store. Again, more work, blah, 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 but it contributes. So you're constantly, pushing yourself, never letting yourself get too comfortable. And that I guess that's a good point there too, is that same thing with trading. Like the second you get comfortable and like get so just like safe, that's kind of when I think, you start to take a downturn and like the worst can happen,
Yep, absolutely. And so let's talk about what's your plans moving forward, and not only your plans, but a couple of things. I'll hit you with the first one, and that is, what is your challenge right now that you're trying to master? Because everyone has challenges no matter where you're at in your career. So I'm just curious, like, what challenge is something that you're hoping to improve on yourself?
I was just making my 2020 goal list for trading, actually. And that's really right now, it is just learning and teaching myself to avoid any form of FOMO. And I know that sounds crazy because obviously FOMO is impossible to lose out on. But for me, like, I know in my head, like I know what I'm looking for. I know when my entries are. I know when I'm supposed to get in, and I know when I'm supposed to get out. But, it's those trades before sometimes that lead up to these stupid little losses that are just like, they're unnecessary. It's always been that way. And mine have always come like on these like trades where I'm scaling a little bit and I'm like, oh, I'll short here. I'll short a little bit more here. And then I'm like, what the hell just happened? Like I could have just waited for the stock to reach my level and I would have been stress-free. So I want to adapt and really kind of grow into this stress-free trading mentality, which is, again, kind of what we were mentioning earlier, letting the stock top out, letting yourself see that rejection. Like when you see a stuff move on a stock, especially a volatile one, like you can, like there's a potential downside coming, right? Doesn't mean the backside's in, it just means it's downside. So that kind of waiting for that confirmation and avoiding those, like, I'd like to see my chart, like, it's so stupid, but like, when you see your DOS chart, you have the arrows, right?
Yes, absolutely. Like, I love that chart.
I love it, but I don't want to see any damn arrows before the stock breaks down. Like, that's my thing. Like, I don't want to anticipate that a stock's going to break down. I don't want to anticipate that a stock's going to reject the 5 line. I want to see it reject the 5 line. Then I can size in comfortably. And like that for me is stress free. And the second I started adapting that, I started recognizing that I could just sit and watch price action. I can watch the tape. I can watch price action and not feel this like anxiety feeling like I got to get in. I got to get involved. And same thing. I would rather adapt the idea of like, if you miss a move, if you miss the trade, you go on. I think Mike Belfiore, he always says this, if you miss your entry, you miss the trade. And like, that's kind of the mentality I want to, like, going into the new year. I think that's a good point. Huge. Yeah,
absolutely. I think what's interesting is anticipating versus confirmation. And I think it's because as traders, I think everyone goes through this. I think people are going through this every day, in fact, and that is, we think we have to catch the top.
Yeah.
We think to make money. Like you think like to be a good trader, you got to be here and you got to be down here. Like it just doesn't make Yeah, you can, but you're gonna be stressful. You're
Yeah,
gonna be
you
so
know, I mean,
stressed, and you're gonna take tons of paper cuts. It's gonna happen, and if you're
I
not good at
know.
taking your paper cuts, you're gonna blow up. It's
Yeah,
one of
and the fact is, like, everybody, they want to be a hero, and like, dude, I did it. Like, I like a couple of the guys that, you know, when I started listening to some of the other podcasts of these traders that I listened to, I'm like, I want to be that guy. He's hitting the top, he's nailing the top, holding it for 2 weeks, and like, that's sick. Like, that guy's loaded. That's awesome.
yeah,
But at the end of the day, like, we were talking about the benefit of Twitter. Like, not that long ago, like a year ago, there was a thread between a couple of people who I consider to be great traders, and they were talking about how, you know, in their trading career as they develop, the gunslinger mentality has proven to just be so stressful and not necessary. When you can wait for a stock to top out, use just as much, if not more size, and hold without stress. Because the fact is too, right, with hitting tops is like, you're technically hitting a level that's not proven. Like, we look at the daily chart and we see, okay, there's this on this day it rejected 5, it traded this much volume.
right.
But at the end of the day, it's like, price action is the only thing that matters, right? In my one of the most important things, not the only thing, but it's very important. So at the end of the day, you could just push through that 5. It doesn't matter
Yep.
just how many. There could be some stubborn shorts. There could be anything. There could be anything manipulating, moving it, whatever. So at least when you wait and you see it reject 5, now you have a clear set risk. Whereas, like, there's been times where I will, short at the 5 line or whatever,
Because you want that awesome, like, high shares, like, yeah.
that red arrow right at the top, and I'm like, yes, that's sick. And then it rips to 550, and I'm like, what the hell did I just do? Like, why did it? You know, like, I shorted, waited, assuming it's going to happen. When you can't assume anything in the market, and especially when you're trading small caps and these low floats, like, you can't assume a stock's going to break down or reject. Like, trading without confirmation is just like, you're just asking for a potential blow up at some point. And yeah, it's.
I agree, man. I think that's a good point. I think it's because as new traders, I don't know about you, but when I first started trading, I'm thinking, man, these guys can predict. You know, like
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
these guys, they know what they're doing because they can anticipate. And what's unique is like you're saying, man, like, you saw that thread, you were able to witness that and how they were communicating with one another and how they mentioned that waiting for confirmation is, if you do that, like, it's so much stress free. You might even have a higher win percentage, right? Because you're waiting for the confirmation, and then you might not. Let's just say, your 5 is the top, right?
Yep.
You get confirmation that 5 is the top, even though you knew on the daily chart there might be an indicator that 5 is the top.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you short it up there and then you risk, 5 and it breaks to 510, just a quick little baby squeeze, you might cut it. And then, but if you wait until 5, yeah, exactly. If you wait for 5 to top out and then it comes down, and then you might not, maybe you don't get full size because you're like, man, I'm not at 5, but I'm at 485. But now you're comfortable and you can ride that thing back down. And that's what's important.
Yeah. And I think, especially with something like that, it allows me, by waiting for that, it allows me to kind of sit through like moves a little bit, for example, if stock tops out at 5, bounces to like 487, 490, I'm okay now throwing out my 30% and kind of sitting it and let price action work itself. It can bounce to 490, 95, maybe even 503, and you can watch volume, see if it looks like it's really gonna move. But the problem is, when you're trying to size in on that initial move, like, you really can't get, I can't give it wiggle room.
You get nervous, man.
Yeah, like, dude, there's times with 30%, I'll let it go 10, 20 cents against me because I'm just comfortable. I'm saying, like, I know I can make that. That's just, I'm letting price action tell me, like, if it's working or not. And, that's the thing. When I tried to size in on the initial move and, like, I'd hit 497, I'd be like, oh, that's sick. But I'm in a couple thousand shares. I'm like, shit, it's going against me 10 cents. Like, I gotta cut this. And then, just like you said, just to see it tank. So, like, I want to avoid those stresses. Like, every time that you can deduct a little bit of stress from your trading, you're just going to be trading better. And you're going to leave the monitors every day. And, like, you can come and go no matter what, win or loss, and be like, I followed my rules, my plan, I stress-free trading, and, like, you can leave kind of happy and confident in your trading, I think.
Absolutely, man. And look, I want to ask you this last question because we're already about the 30-minute mark or getting close.
Yep.
And so what I'd like to ask you is, because you talked about goals, and I want to know, where you're at now in your trading, and what are your goals right now? And you can just pick one or two, but then also compare that to where you were, year one in trading and how your goals have changed.
Yeah, it's funny. So I guess like I said, my goals for this year are, again, the idea of confirmation and the idea of sizing in when the stock when it's telling you to, like when it's like telling you to, like, you know, if the stock's telling you to slam the bid, like, you know, like you listen to like price action, and that's those kind of goals kind of coincide, is that, you know, stop rushing to get size in when it's appropriate, you know, and stop trying to be an ego guy. Like, stop trying to like have the most beautiful looking chart out there, because at the end of the day, that doesn't matter. You know, like at the end of the day, like people talk about this on Twitter all the time. Like people could post charts and be trading like 200 shares, and like, you don't know, like,
right,
you know, so it's like, so the idea is like, I'm trading for me. And like, that's my biggest goal for this year, is like trading for what makes me comfortable, stress-free. I don't care what others, obviously it's cool when people say like, dude, it's sick trade, but like, I want it to be for me. It's my money. It's my bankroll. It's everything, right? It's my process. So that is huge for me. And how that's different from when I started was, when I first started, everything was for everyone else. Like every time I traded, I was like, I need people to recognize that I'm a good trader. Like I need people to tell me, I need someone to tell me like I know what I'm doing. And I needed that confirmation from people saying like, oh yeah, you're on the right path, you're doing this. Whereas in reality, like, you don't need that as a trader, because, you know, you meet all these people online, on Twitter, through groups, and it's nice to build a community, and it's nice to have that, but you are trading your own bankroll at the end of the day. You know, you're not trading this great trader's size. You're not trading his process, how he trades. You know, and I used to see people nailing stocks. Like, again, you talk about guys like Brian, like I love his charts. You see a guy post an arrow to way up here, and then he covers way down here. And you're like, God damn it. Like, you know, that's not how I did it, you know, but at the end of the day, and I can find myself, I can respect that and appreciate another trader's ability. But at the end of the day, I'm trading my own gut, my own stomach, and my own bankroll. So it's like, stop rushing that. Stop trying to impress anyone else, and stop trying to show people that you know what you're doing, because it doesn't matter if every trader in the world thinks you're amazing and you know what you're doing. Like, what matters is how much money you're making. Are you profitable, and are you sticking to a set process? You know, and that kind of wraps up to like my biggest overall goal is just like, at this point, I have a process that works for me. Like, it is proven to be profitable and it works. So why would I deviate from that at all? You know, now it comes to refining that and growing with that. You know, I have a size I'm comfortable with, but I'm growing slowly. I never want to get comfortable. I always want to keep adapting and keep, you know, getting better and better. And that's it. You trade yourself. You trade for yourself, and that's it. Just sticking with that.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you sharing that, because I think what's awesome is I've went through this. I want to say everyone goes through this, but I don't, you know, everyone's different. But at the same time, I used to always want confirmation, you know, from others. I used to always be like, I'm not gonna, you know, I don't want to do this, or I'm only trading this way because everyone else trades this way, or you know, we all have ego, all of us do, and if you say you don't have an ego, you probably have the biggest ego, or you know, and it's important to recognize that if you have an ego, and if you can recognize that you can easily slip into needing people to please yourself, or needing someone to say you're doing the right thing, or needing someone to praise you, then if you can recognize you need that, like everyone has that in their head, then you can actually be aware of it, and you know, could not control, but be aware and be able to maneuver through that emotion, right? And not have to only trade what you're comfortable with. I think it's I don't know if you ever heard of, oh no, don't forget what's his name. It is it's this, I think he's a psychologist. He was a Harvard teacher, and help me out if you know his name, but he talks about, he wrote a book called 12 laws of meaning, or 12 rules of life meaning, or something like that. Maps of meaning too.
Yeah.
Oh man, great guy. I'm so mad that I can't remember. Well, anyway, he talks about how he studied PTSD soldiers who came back from the war. And he says the most common thread between all of them is they all, you know, of course they witnessed something that was just traumatic, but that wasn't the thing that kind of triggered them. What triggered them is what they did. And what's crazy is it's because we all have this vision in our head of who we are. Yeah. And that vision usually is, and it's okay, we all have it. It's like, I'm a good person. I could never do what that guy did. I can't believe that he murdered that someone. You know, I can't believe that he did this horrible thing. But the reality is we all have the capability to be that person. And if you can believe that and understand that you can be that person, then you can control and prevent that from happening, because you know that you do have the capability of easily in one moment you could become a guy who kicks your dog. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
In one
yeah,
moment.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? In one
No,
moment.
it's true.
And if you know that you could be that person, then you will be aware and you would do whatever it takes to not be that person.
Yeah,
But if you have the other belief, like we all do, and I used to have this belief, like I could never be that person who does X, Y, Z. Just think of any horrible thing.
yep,
I could never be a Hitler.
yeah,
Everyone could be a Hitler. I know that sounds horrible,
yeah,
but
yeah,
everyone can be that person.
yep,
But it's the one who's aware of that I can be that, but
yeah,
you could prevent it. So when I'm saying, to get back to the point, is these soldiers, they went across seas, and maybe it's me, like I go overseas and I have the belief like everyone else usually does that I can never be this person.
yep,
And then your belief is radically changed
hmm,
and you see like, oh my God, I did do XYZ and
yep,
now I don't know who I am.
yep,
And so that's when you lose who you are, and that's when things get erratic and get crazy. And that's the same thing with trading. Like if you don't believe that you can make these mistakes, if you don't believe that you
yep,
can actually, you could be that person who holds and hopes, right? I believe I
yep,
could be that person. And so
yep,
you do whatever you can to prevent that. You know,
yep.
so that's a long explanation, but hopefully that
No,
helps. But
it makes a lot of sense. I mean, there's times where like I'm someone where I'm like, I just never like to me, I'm like, I would never blow up an account, right? Like I'm just always like, I'd never blow up an account. I would never take a massive loss. Like I have my max daily loss. Like on my, the way it works for most brokers is, they won't just auto liquidate your position. Like, you can have them do it, but like the way it's set up for me is it alerts me it's my max daily loss because I've never once had an issue cutting it until then I've reached days where, and it happened to me recently actually, where like, I just was sitting there. I'm like, no, this stock's going to come down, especially it's coming off a hot streak where I haven't taken losses. And I'm like, this stock's going to come down. And I'm watching. I'm like, yeah, it's MBOT. I'm like,
yeah.
oh, Jesus
Oh, yeah.
Christ. I'm like, this thing's not coming down. Like, this thing is going. It's just going to go. And I'm sitting there. I'm like, I've never done that before. And at the end of the day, and this is not a bad thing, but I think as traders, if we can just take away the idea that someone else is nailing it, like it's like always in your head, like the guy I'm either on the phone with or the guy I've seen on Twitter is nailing this stock. But the fact is, like, you didn't, it's hard for you to stomach that. But the second you can kind of detach those emotions, it'll change like trading, because then you just don't have an ego. You're trading without the pressure either. You're trading without trying to impress everybody else and think that, there's no reason as a trader. Like if I see this guy post that he made 20 grand today, there's no reason I can't appreciate that and be like, wow, dude, that's talent. Like he did good. But like, doesn't matter, like that it's not my account, it's not anything
Right.
about me. I love it, I respect it I understand what he works on and how he does it. I love it, but for me, I need to focus on what I'm doing and if I can do that and all that.
And he might have made 20 cents. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
you know,
he just had big size. Like, you don't know.
Who knows? I've had the pleasure and I've been really lucky to trade with some like really good guys on the phone in the mornings, right? Like some of these like guys that I'm sure everyone knows about, and it's like I trade with them and like trade with a guy like Alex or Tosh or my friend D, like, Tom, like these guys, they just, they might be in a trade with this massive size. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, this guy has like 10,000 shares on. I have like 3,000 or 4,000. I'm like, how, like, I'm thinking like, oh my God, he's making this much. I'm making this much. And it was always hard. And that always kind of put me in weird positions. But now I can see that and be like, okay, it doesn't matter. It's all perspective. It's all my account versus his account. He's trading what works for him, what is his, and I'm trading what's mine. So that's the biggest thing is I think every trader I think going into 2020 could really focus on is that you find your process, you find your system, and you just stick with that. You refine it as long as it's proven to work.
Absolutely, man. Well, James, look, man, I really appreciate you being on the show
Yeah,
today. It's been great fun. And I just want to say thank you again. And hopefully we can bring you back in the future, man.